Hi everyone, this is Elena of the Witches Box, and I'm here today with another episode of the Witches BookTube. And today we're going to be talking about yet another Anousen Leonte's books, which is called Evocation through Sigil Magick by Anousen Leonte. Again, I don't know how to pronounce these names. This is how I think it's pronounced. I am still on my quest to find information about this writer and nothing has come up, but I am deeply immersed in pretty much every book that I can get a hold of. And we will be talking about each one of them because I really am enjoying them a lot. So today is, if I'm not mistaken, the fourth book that we're covering that is specifically about Sigil Magick. However, now that I'm so many books into his writings, just about all of them will contain information about sigil work. So if sigil work is something that you're interested in, get pretty much all of his books, because even though he's covering different topics in each of these books, they're very digestible, they're very small, it's just packed with great information, and you will have more and more as each book progresses, a broader and deeper understanding of how to work with sigils, why they work. And I am really enjoying all of this reading. I can't get enough. And I think in the last few videos, I think I said that there were about 15. To date, right now, I found 20 books that he has written, and I have all of them except for one that I can't seem to find a copy of anywhere. It used to be sold on Amazon, it's not there anymore. It used to be sold, I think, on Barnes & Noble, it's not there anymore. I will find it. I'm determined. So I have 19 books to cover. We're going to talk about all of them because I really love them. Unless I happen to run into one that's really bad, I really don't think that's going to happen. I'm really loving these books. In a couple of videos before, we talked about sigils for meditation, and then we spoke about sigils to evoke alchemical symbols and knowledge and wisdom. This is specifically about using sigils to evoke spirits or deities in order to commune with them, in order to have an exchange of information, and in order to expand and to learn, which is really important work if it's something that is of interest to you. You are evoking an entity to have an interaction with them. And so what this book will do is not only talk about what that's about and why one would do that, but will also walk you through what that ritual process looks like as well. And it gives you two different types of ritual, like ritual light. He doesn't call it ritual light, that's my word, but like a simple ritual. And then he talks about how oftentimes what he has discovered in his magical experimentation and what he's heard from others is that when you create more elaborateness around your ritual in terms of how you set up your altar, different things that you add to the setting, when you add all these other steps into it, they actually do have an effect on how much deeper you can go, which I totally believe. I think it's a very true statement to make. And then because he's given you two different options about how to do these rituals, like a simple ritual and a more elaborate ritual. In the elaborate ritual section, he will cover things like how changing or adding colored lights or colored lamps to your room or ritual space can absolutely alter how you are able to, or how much easier you are in your ability to evoke certain entities. Certain colors speak more to one's deity as opposed to another. And I actually have heard of using colored lamps for rituals and evocations and invocations in the past. I have never personally used that tool myself, but he goes into how you might do that. A colored lamp, paint, fabric over a lamp, so there are different ways, but he'll talk about those correspondences as well as the potency and importance of using certain incenses in order to do this type of ritual, and he'll talk about that and what kind of correspondences in terms of deities go with certain scents and smells so that you can create your own incense. I feel like with this book you've got two different layers going on at once that are both very important and significant in terms of your own magical growth, because what you get in this book is exactly how to evoke an entity, a deity, a spirit with sigil work, and a simple ritual, as I said before, and a more elaborate ritual. But then you get all the how-to. He gives you a lot of information about why this works, more information again about the why behind sigils and how it's really, the more I read about it and the more I learn about working with sigils, the more I really understand it to be a technology with regards to how to access that deepest part of you that is the most powerful, that is the most magical, that is the most connected. And it's kind of shifting for me, just kind of how I reference where magic is sourced. Really, it's sourced within us, and it's not necessarily just about harnessing energy out there so that I can channel it into an intention. It's not that at all. It's that we have a really powerful tool in our subconscious mind that we really are never trained to use. We're never really trained to access consciously. And the work of sigils is about bypassing all of this, right? Our ego, our consciousness, all of our thinking about what is what, and dropping technology and code into our subconscious in order for the power in that part of ourselves to create our external reality. It is literally all within us. I am so turned on by this whole thing. So this book gives you even more. I mean, each book covers a significant amount of information about sigils, and I feel like with each book, even though it can seem repetitive, each book gives me something more. Each book speaks to why this works. And then there's this whole philosophy around why magic is what it is and why magic works and how it can work best for each of us. Can I say any more how much I love this writer and these books? I don't know that I can. I'm going to repeat it for like the other however many books I have left to read. So you get those two layers. You get a couple more layers. So you've got the rituals, you get the how to evoke deities, and then you have just more background information in terms of why sigils work and what they are about. Then you also get these new pieces of information in terms of colored lamps and incense and those correspondences, which are correspondences that I'm sure you can find online. He talks about how to create those for yourself, why. He speaks very much about astrological entities, astrological energies, and astrological magic. And so a lot of the correspondences have to do with that. So colors that correspond with solar energy, with lunar energy, with mercurial energy, with Venusian energy, Martian energy. This is a beautiful layer if you want to dive deeper into something like this for your magic and understanding. We talk so much just about the moon, but there's so much more going on in the sky and how that energy can influence not only our magic, but how we can use these evocation rituals to tap into those energies to learn more just about the energies specifically, or the entities of those astrological energies specifically. It's beautiful. And again, the thing that I'm really loving about all of these books is just magic for the sake of learning, right? We talk so much about, maybe we don't talk so much about it, but I do get the questions of how do I create more power as a witch? And it's the expansion of your mind. It's the expansion of your knowledge base. It's the expansion of how much you know yourself and how much you experiment with the tools that you get. It's taking those tools and using them over and over and over again to experiment, to tweak, to really empower yourself to master your tools in a way that makes most sense for you. Like, all of that is what feeds us and our power and our effectiveness in our lives. The other thing I really enjoy about these books, it's one of the reasons why I only give it a 4 and not a 5, which is interesting. I've been thinking a lot about this because I am totally turned on by these books. I'm feeling already like this FOMO, like the minute I'm done reading his books, I'm going to be so sad that they're over because they're only 20 and I can't even find the 20th one on my list. So the books that I give a 5 to are like the Danielle Dulski book that I reviewed a few weeks back on the Holy Wild, because it speaks my language, right? It speaks to this poetic, spiritual, soulful excavation, catharsis, spiritual liberation. Like, those things changed my life. Anything ever done or said or breathed by Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes, automatic 5 for me, because they're like living guides for me in terms of how I liberate myself spiritually over the course of my life. This type of book, the ones that I've been reviewing for the last couple of weeks, and I will continue to do so for the next few weeks, they don't feel emotionally, maybe even psychologically life-changing the way those books do. But what these books are giving me and feel to me is that this is really critical, important, magical information on how to strengthen and master your magical skills. Like, really tangible, but also next level information on how to do this. And not just how to do this, but why it works, which I think is so critical. Why does this work? What are we really doing? And what I'm learning to distinguish for myself is that there are different tracks to magic. There are different entryways to magic, right? This is just one. Particularly, I think that he has not made this statement in any of the books that I've read so far, including the few that I have not reviewed for you yet. I don't know that he's ever identified in any of these books exactly what he considers himself, but he does speak a lot to chaos magic, which is something that I will be reviewing. And I don't know that I've read him say this, from my understanding, chaos magic is the kind of magic that you take what works for you and you refine it for yourself and you do it. Which speaks to, on some level, what people call eclectic witchcraft, but this is a little bit more specific. This was born out of, I don't remember his name, but Spar, who originally created Sigil Magick. What I'm learning and understanding about this type of magic is that for me, in the way I receive it, it is fully sourced within my own power as a magician, right? I don't even have to raise energy around an intention to release out into the world like you would like in a Wiccan circle or a Wiccan ritual or spell. It doesn't feel like any of that is necessary because it's about a specific type of technology that taps into that part of yourself that has the power, and that part of yourself can work towards that end independent of your consciousness and what you happen to be doing. Like once you've planted the seed, you go about your day, and that other part of you that's like raw power that knows how and to create your reality works at creating your reality for you. I've got so many quotes that I want to like share. He talks about how sometimes if you know a little bit about the entity that you're going to be evoking with the deity that you're going to be evoking, setting things up for them to come into that space is helpful. So if you know that a deity tends more towards a particular element or a particular color or a particular symbol or a particular something, a flower, you add those things to your altar ritual space in order to kind of create an inviting environment to bring them in. It's a correspondence layering. But he then says, also, whenever I evoke a spirit, the first thing I try to determine is its astrological elemental correspondences. Then I will set up the ritual accordingly, making sure I have the right colors, the metals, the incense, as well as the proper minerals and herbs the situation calls for it. Because you want, and this is my paraphrase of what he says, which is you want a clear telephone line, right? You want that connection to be clear. Sometimes it's not. The more corresponding vibration or energy that you have that kind of reverberates at that same frequency of that deity, the easier time you're going to have of evoking that deity. The other thing that he brings up is the use of a scrying mirror in evoking a deity and using that as a tool through which to receive visions or visuals in your communication with that deity. Sometimes a download may come in words or in images or in sensation, and sometimes it's an external visual that the mirror and the mirror reflection almost acts as a portal of communication. So he brings up that, how to use that. You guys, all this in like maybe 40 pages. There's a lot of information here, and it's one of the things that I appreciate the most. So when I was saying earlier about the 5 versus the 4, I give all these a 4 because it doesn't fully speak, although maybe it does, but it doesn't fully speak to that part of me that is just so me, where it's like, oh, this book is like a Bible. It's not that. But I find these books so relevant, so helpful, so expanding in terms of my knowledge base, that they're exciting. It's exciting and new information that I really appreciate. It's multi-layered. Again, I've said this over and over again that I feel like he doesn't waste page space. Like it's like he goes in and he's in with the information and the gems on and on and on, all, you know, each page through. I recommend it. Again, my suspicion is going to be that every book that I read of his is probably going to have some in-depth working around sigils. So that's a common thread through everything that is worked on in each of these books. It seems to be his mode of magic, or one of his main modes of magic. I'm also just really loving this through thread that speaks to not just experimentation, but magic as a means of exploration and educational adventure in terms of the spiritual, mystical realm. I love that as an emphasis. It's a departure. It's just a departure from so much of what we see and read out there about let's have a money spell, or let's, I don't know, what was the last thing I spelled for that was, I can't say what I spelled for, but I spelled for a specific thing that was outside of me. It had nothing to do with just being available for the expansion and the download. That's, I think, what I'm really appreciating the most. Second to, the sigil work. I love the sigil work. Evocation through Sigil Magick from Anousen Leonte. Sir, if you are out there, thank you for the books. They're great. They're fantastic. So all the information I've talked about will be down below in terms of where to get the book. Anything else that, we're talking about, I'll link to below. So by the time this video comes out, the landing sales page for our book subscription service, it's going to be a witch book subscription service, will probably be live. And so there will be a link down below to that. On that page, even though you won't be able to sign up or buy it yet, you can sign up for an announcement for when those subscriptions go live. Boom. But it'll also have all the information about that subscription on that page. So that'll be down below. I want to encourage you to please subscribe to this channel if you are just coming to it now and you're not subscribed. Also ring the little bell next to the red subscribe button so that you are notified whenever something new drops in this channel. In case you're finding this video out of the blue and you have no idea that we've been talking about this writer for weeks now, all the other videos for those reviews will be linked down below so that you can check them out. Until next time, be well, and I will see you soon.